Okay, hello everyone. Thank you all for joining on the next episode of 5 Thursdays with a very special guest, Sneha Kumari from Web3 Compass, speaking about the art of prompt engineering. And speaking about art, today is a very special day because we have just to kick off our season 6 in Artisan for you to express your artistic touch on how you can build things with vibe coding, with prompting, your manifested thoughts to prompt, and this becomes applications. This is really art, and we have the applications open, so you can submit your project and start voting. At last season, it was super packed for curation for people to get enough votes. So we are revamping the whole system now. The earlier you start getting votes, the better. And we are almost hitting our target of 20K, almost just 400 something. And we are there. All of this money is going to be awarded as a grant, as match funding for the projects that get created. You can be one of these projects. You can put your project here and start earning by everything that you vibe code. So if you are not part of the community yet, I would invite you to come to this website right now, or Luma page, and become a member. We have packs for free for builders. You can become a student for a small contribution. You can sponsor us. You can become a founding member under our mentorship program. And you're going to have access to all of our events here in New York, in Brazil, in virtually as we're having today. You're going to be part of the community. You're going to receive mentorship, and you're going to receive all of these recordings that we have, almost 20 now of these recordings. You're going to receive this link, and then you can follow all of these lessons at your own pace. You can ask us questions anytime you want. This is part of the community. This is what we want to build. So if you did not yet, join it right now, Luma Venture Miner, and be part of our community. I'll introduce our guest now, Sneha. Please be welcome to come to the stage and start. Let me pin you for everyone. And I start your presentation, introducing yourself, and why should we learn about the art of prompt engineering today?
Yes, just let me present my screen.
Applauses. At any time, people, if you have questions, you can raise your hand, or you can do the QA. We have a QA pane that you can put your questions there. I guess I can enable the chat too. Let me see. Because I can enable the chat. There's something wrong. And I can pin the message if needed. And I'll be moderating the call. So it's not, you don't need to worry with the chat or anything. I can ping you whenever we have a new message or new question, okay?
Okay. Are you guys able to see my screen? It's taking a while.
We see that it's loading. Yes, we have it.
Yes. So, hello everyone. I am Sneha, co-founder of Web3 Compass. But this is a very latest designation that I have given myself. Before this, I was a software engineer and a DevRel engineer working in the Web3 space. For the past 3 years, I've been experimenting a lot with blockchains, working with multiple ecosystems in the space, almost 10 plus, handling DevX as well as growth in the APAC regions. So I have a lot of experience teaching students, writing code. I'm also a hobby writer, so I do write stuff sometimes. And now I've started my own thing called Web3 Compass, which is an educational platform which helps you learn everything Web3 and very soon AI in a very curated campaigns form, because we feel that no matter how many tutorials and content you put out, we need, all of us sort of have to work on human issues, and everybody knows that procrastination, discipline, and all of that is a concern. So then we design the campaigns in such a manner that you just commit yourself. And we had one of the most successful campaigns as 30 Days of Solidity. So yeah. So that is all about Web3 Compass. Today, this is going to be a super chill session around all of my experience about vibe coding, the things that I am building, and what is it that I've learned from being very noob vibe coder who's just randomly telling AI to just build something because it's there in my mind, and then getting frustrated and calling AI dumb and saying that, hey, you don't understand, while the fault was clearly on my end to not clarify what the project is supposed to be or what features am I looking at, especially when you're looking at building something extremely complicated. And today, I think anything, you can absolutely build anything with AI. It's just that I feel the entire process has to be a learning curve, because there are times when you come up with latest technologies or certain debuggings and you need to know concepts around it, and even that AI can help. So at the same time, I think I'm using a lot of AI tools to do what they're best at, and it just keeps updating every now and then. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. But hello and welcome to everyone. I'll start with a question, and I would want to know that how many of you have vibe coded at least 2 projects? Now, I was going to write one, but I think that almost everyone would have done one or more than one. I am close to doing, I think, 9 or 10 now, and I need to make a portfolio out of it. But yeah, so I saw a few thumbs up, and the rest, maybe you are still experimenting, and uh, you should start. I mean, the level and what you can actually build, I feel like there was a point where building used to be a very, very difficult angle, where people would have these insane ideas and they feel that, oh my god, we're not good coders and how do we go about executing. But now suddenly building is the new normal, and now people are struggling with how they're going to market everything and bring in users. So everyone should build something at least over the weekends. But before we start and look at how to structure prompts, I think everywhere, no matter how many research papers you read, if you read the prompting guides by Google or Anthropic, everybody talks about the 4 more main areas to consider when you're writing an effective prompt, which is: one is persona, one is task, the other one is context, and third is format. So persona generally really, really helps. For example, if sorry, if I say that, hey, I want to increase my followers on LinkedIn or Twitter, and can you give me a content strategy? The kind of result that you would get then, and the kind of result you would get when you write a prompt like, you are a social media expert working for brands and founders, helping them improve their personal branding and grow their network. I want you to analyze founders who have massive following in certain areas like AI, Web3, or whatsoever, and then analyze their tweets and then create a strategy for me. So that persona would give you a very different response than the first one. Then task. I think it's very, very important for you to be very specific with what kind of tasks do you want. And I know once you get into building and you imagine maybe a project, a full-fledged game or a website, I had this tendency to say, hey, I want to build a website. The home section should look like this, blah, blah, blah. And there are so many things which I want to add in the middle of, the entire building process is happening. So the best thing is that you should be very specific of what task are you trying to achieve. Even if you don't have an entire idea of how the end goal should look like, be at least specific of everything that you can think of and write it in bullet points. That is very important, because they are also going to analyze. If you look at the right prompt structure, it is always said that you should divide these 4 areas into 4 different paragraphs for it to analyze. But then for tasks, I like to break it down. And you should remember that even as a human, if I am assigning you tasks and telling you that I want you to achieve these 5 things and write a huge paragraph for it, it might feel overwhelming for you. Instead, if I write it in bullet point that, hey, I want you to do these 4 tasks, it's easier to process. So a lot of time when you're speaking to AI, you should consider it as your human assistant, and like give the prompts like that. Now, context. What background information is relevant? So a lot of times, you just like in the traditional building angle, you would look at a lot of website designs online, take inspiration, and then try to code it. So while you are doing the same here, you can provide as much context as you have. Now, it could be around anything. If you have design links, if you have images, if you are very specific on what kind of tech stack do you want to build, provide all the relevant context. For example, even if you're picking up a latest tech, maybe pick up a blockchain that has a documentation and that has some relevant information around the SDKs or whatsoever. It is very important for you to provide that, hey, just go refer to this link and analyze all of the information that you have and then proceed with the building. Okay. Now, there could be multiple steps involved in it, in this, which we'll talk about later, but then that is all when you say that, okay, what kind of context are you looking at? And then format, that how should the output be structured? For me, in my previous job, while I was writing a lot of technical blogs and researching on a lot of topics, what would happen is that if I would ask AI to write a blog, it would do a lot of either bullet points or a lot of paragraphs. Okay. So when you're reading an article and it is filled with just bullet points, it looks vague. It should have a structure which says, okay, this is the introduction of the blog, this is the body is divided into these segments, and then there's a conclusion. If there is any relevant code section that needs to be highlighted a certain way. So formatting is very, very important. Otherwise, AI would just go on giving you either very, very long paragraphs that looks like essays, or it will give you a lot of bullet points. So be very specific on what kind of formatting you would need. And this is helpful both while building tech projects as well as doing any kind of creative work, writing, copywriting, whatsoever, blog, any of it. So these 4 areas are very important. Now, at the building section, just like every other program, because I didn't know that such OGs would come who are doing 2 hackathons or 3 hackathons at the same time. So just like every other programmer who is learning how to code or starting to code, they mostly start with a tic-tac-toe game. All of us have sort of looked down at tic-tac-toe at some point in time, like why? Or maybe a calculator, that why are we building this? But then it's just the universal thing. After Hello World, everyone would go building a calculator or tic-tac-toe. So I would show you the responses, but just for the context, the first prompt that I gave Windsurf was build a tic-tac-toe game. And the response would be this simple, that I will build a simple tic-tac-toe game for you. Let's create a web-based version with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Again, you can see that neither did I provide a Windsurf a context that if it is a software developer, what am I expecting out of it? There is no context given of the kind of tech stack I want to use. So it is just assumed that I'm looking at a web-based version. What if I wanted a mobile-based game, right? And it also picked up HTML, CSS, and JavaScript as the tech stack. But right now, nobody's really talking about HTML and CSS. Everyone just talks about React and Next.js and Tailwind CSS. So everything's upgraded. But the way these tools are created, it's just the basic version that they're going to pick. They don't know what you're expecting out of it. So if you look at the project structure, it would be these 3 files. And now if you get to the output, this is your output. So whatever LLM knows about tic-tac-toe, it will just create it there with a X and 0, and then player X turn, player Y O turn, and then just win, restart game and all of that. But then next time we wanted, and when I look at the output, we are like, oh my God, this is not what I was expecting out of it. I wanted something fun. I wanted it to have a theme. So every time you're working on anything complicated, you need to remember this, that when there's a small code base and complex task, AI is really, really calm and it will give you what you need. But if there's a bigger code base and complex task, it has already lost its context and it starts hallucinating. Sometime if you have multiple versions of the project, it would not even remember which version were you working on, or if it has asked you to, like this has happened to me an hour before this session where I was trying to set up an API authentication angle, and it just forgot that it had asked me to, create a server on Google Cloud and create all of those profiles and services, and then it just keeps repeating. Why? Because the same error is occurring in the console. So it will just keep repeating whatever it knows without it remembering that I have already performed the tasks manually that I was supposed to do. So the next output that I built for tic-tac-toe was sort of this. Now, where did we get the inspiration from? We'll just directly go to Windsurf. I'm not sure if you can really see my screen. I work with very small fonts.
Yeah.
So if you will see, in all of my projects, I have made this a universal rule for myself, that every project that I work with will have multiple markdown files. Okay, one at the starting of the project, and it keeps updating, and one at the end of the project when I've got a desired output. That okay, I will tell AI that, hey, now that you've built this entire project for me, can you write a very detailed prompt in such a manner that if I was to give you this prompt, you could have built this entire project in one go. Okay. And that is very important. I don't know how good Windsurf works with that. It still messes up a lot, but then that is where multiple tools would come in, that if you are sort of just having an idea in mind, just go to Google AI Studio. It does amazing work and it gives you 1 million tokens for every chat. The moment you change the chat, you will have another 1 million token coming in. And yeah, I think it's 1 million, close to whatever number it is. But yeah, it's a lot of tokens. And all I do is that I give out my idea and I say that, hey, can you design a prompt for me in such a manner that I have to ask a AI tool to build this, and it will give me a very structured prompt. And what happens is that it saves me a lot of debugging hours. So if you see this project, like we can start all again and show you. I wanted to actually build a 3D design, but then I did not have a lot of context around that what exactly do I want. So I just went to, 1 second. Yeah, I'll show you. So I just went to Google and I said, okay, let's look at the images that we have in tic-tac-toe game. And then any image that you like on the 3D side, obviously it would be a little complicated, but then you take inspiration from any of these. And this is the project image that I had given AI, that, okay, I want something pixelated. Now, it cannot pick up everything on how these pixels are arranged or what was the idea behind it, but it will pick up something super close to it. So if you see that the 3D design thing didn't really work for me, it gave me something extremely weird. So after I saw all of that, I would just come up with a context, say, hey, I don't like the 3D section. I want you to make it pixelated in a 2D format itself and refer to this image. So with that, it will just change everything that it knows, that the 3D angle, because I am not well versed with how to build things with 3D, and I do not have the patience for it, and I did not like the first iteration. So I was like, okay, let's go with something fun and something that I can easily debug rather than going all 3D. So it just says that, okay, I am picking up X in teal, Space Invader characters in orange and black background, yellow grid lines. So very similar to what we have here, okay? And then it will just start working on all the files. And here I've not really followed the all the rules that you should have, that okay, to build the features one by one and all of that, but it was close enough to sort of just go about and saying that, hey, I have built this entire thing. But then towards the end, after you are done with all of, you know, the features that is it has given you, it's still not the perfect tic-tac-toe game that you would like, and you can make changes. But I would always say that, hey, now create a prompt in a prompt.md file in such a manner that if I give it to you, you would create this in one go. And then if you look at all of these prompts, you will see that the structure of it is almost similar in all of these prompts. There's an objective, there's a visual reference, there would be technical requirements where it talks about React, what are you using for pixel art styling, what are the features we are looking to implement, then how is it going to do pixel art implementation, the project structure, the implementation details, the React components, any animations. Now, obviously, as a tech person, if you already have a clear idea of, oh, this is exactly how my project should look like, you would be able to write this prompt. But nobody has that kind of idea until and unless you're working in a very big organization and you know that this entire quarter we are just going to work on these three features, and there are product managers and then technical managers to have a Gantt chart and all of those timelines, right? So it could be very limited, and you could try to structure your prompt as close to this as you can. But if not, just go about writing the objective, maybe give a reference to visual reference. I didn't know that, you know, how do I want the visual reference to be. I just picked up an image from the internet to give it a context and just went about implementing it. And all I knew that, hey, I want you to build things in React because I know that I can debug things in React. So it would just go about building it. So this is more like the prompt structure. Similarly, maybe we can try building something here, but let's look at what we have here first. So again, magic of writing good prompts, you have to be very specific, and we could just let you I can just ask, hey, you are a software developer and I want you to make a pixelated tic-tac-toe game. I can provide you an image for reference. For tech stack, use React and Tailwind CSS for styling. Implement two players, one as computer and one as a user. As soon as any one of these players win, end the game. And again, a lot of times if you're using tools like Google AI Studio and all of that, it is very important for you to just go about asking if the prompt is clear and to ask any relevant questions. Windsurf does not really answers you really well because it's more equipped towards coding. So clear to you. Ask me any relevant questions around the implementation. Start and only when I approve, go about implementing it. So a lot of time you would see that if you're following a pattern of just writing code or generating code and then it's working fine for you in your local host, you just go about committing it on GitHub. After a certain time, Windsurf will pick up that, and then as soon as it is done with all the changes, it would start your development server, but it will not wait for you to test it. It will just go about, now let us push this GitHub changes and deploy it in production if you are working with some production app. So you have to be very specific on how do you want it to function. Also create a .md file for the project overview, the features you are going to implement. Create it as a to-do list and keep updating it while you implement the features one by one. Okay. So we have the format, we have the context, we have the persona, we have the context, we have the format how we want it, and let's see what it replies. Oh, okay, wait.
We have a quick question here, Sneha. If the Markdown file should be saved in the root directory, or if you have a specific directory for these files?
Oh no, it could be anywhere. Like for example, art of prompt engineering, I have one directory as tic-tac-toe, right? So the relevant prompt.md file would be here. Now I'm going to create another folder for this one. So the respective prompt could be in that directory, so that if you're working with multiple components in a project, maybe back in front end, you have the overview sections separately, rather it being a very lengthy document. So anything works.
Wonderful.
Create another folder in the art of prompt engineering directory as session app, and then proceed with the instructions given. Now, this could have been better arranged, that I first say that, hey, you can review everything. But again, we're doing a very basic implementation here, and it would probably understand everything. But for bigger projects, be very, very specific that you want it to review everything. And after every code generation, you should constantly write that review the work that you have done. A lot of times it would make ESLint errors and all of that, and it would just fix it on its own if the reviewing is happening. So it says, I understand you want me to create a pixelated tic-tac-toe game using React and Tailwind CSS. Before I start implementing, I would like to clarify a few details. See, so I forgot to provide an image reference, but I don't see it attached. Could you share that image so that I can match the pixelated style you're looking for? For the computer player, what difficulty level would you prefer? Easy, medium, hard? Would you like any specific features for the game beyond the basic tic-tac-toe functionality, like score tracking, option to choose who goes first, sound effects, animations, whatever? Do you have any color scheme preferences for the pixelated design? Once I have these details, I'll create the project in a new folder called session app with your directory and start implementing. So what we could do is that this time we can just give this part reference. Oh, it has a Shutterstock the background.
Yeah, I should be able to filter that out, right?
Sorry.
Yeah, I should be able to figure out what is a watermark and what's not, right?
Yeah, I mean, depends on how good it is on analyzing the images, because it is still not able to, I mean, with the AI models, it's still not able to sort of understand the image part exactly. Like if you would see, a lot of times it cannot implement everything because there are a lot more specifications that you have to give, and also depends on what tools that you are using. So that is also
Yeah.
relevant. So for
Sure.
the first,
We have a
yes,
lot of questions about the prompting
yes, yes.
setup here in the chat. Later, maybe we can go one by one if you have time.
Yeah, okay. No, you can like continue to ask me questions while I type here, because these are basic stuff. And
Okay.
yeah.
So one of the questions from Randy is asking about these role setups that we give for the AI. Like you are a senior developer working 10 years in companies, 25 years, you find that this kind of prompt definitions can help for the quality of the generations.
It is, see, but again, if you say that, hey, you are a senior software developer with 10 years of experience, and then you say, hey, you are a senior software developer, it doesn't know what 10 years of experience, what stack do you have in, right? If you're saying, okay, you are a senior software engineer with 10 plus years of experience working on Angular and React and all of these things, maybe it would treat with the things in a better and more optimized way. And I, again, I don't think I have experimented a lot with how much difference in prompt happens when you specify the number of years, but then maybe some quantitative aspects or some more clarity on the kind of work that you've been doing. For example, when I said that, okay, you are a senior or experienced SEO marketing or social media person working with founders who have $1 billion companies and building brands for it, then it emphasizes. And if you are doing any kind of research based on that information, then it would just do the profiling much better, right? If I say that I am a marketing person or social media person for founders who, so whatever information it gets first, it will fetch it. Now a person who, I can be called a founder right now, but then I barely have a social media presence. But then I say, hey, I want you to go for founders like Sam Altman and this and that, or like CEO level, CXO level. So I think that is the quality of work and information provided that gives you a tangible difference in research and reasoning for everything.
Wonderful. There is another question from
Yes.
Natalie. If you recommend a way for saving and versioning these prompts,
Mhm.
maybe in those markdown files, or if you have a copy paste list of prompts that you like to reuse.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Natalie is asking if there is a way to save and version the prompt that you pass for the AI. So maybe if you create a markdown file for this, if you have a repository that you can copy and paste from past experimentation that you did.
Mm-hmm. Um, uh, I don't have it right now, but I'm planning to sort of like add all of this, whatever projects and the final prompts that I've got. In fact, I have a lot of error.md files for the basic errors it does. So I will just put it all together as a repo. And I think everyone should do that too. So maybe then I would be able to share. Right now, it's just all in my system.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great suggestion too. So, Natalie, maybe you can try putting the prompts in the Git itself on GitHub or whatever
Yes.
Git software that you use.
Yeah, so all of my repo, when I finally push the project, it's the prom.md file, you will find it, like most of it. until unless I'm working on something and it's still a work in progress. I just go about like putting everything out there. I want
Wonderful.
a confetti.
And Tamara and Miro asked here about the application. How I can answer that. This is Windsurf, competitor for Cursor and these all the tools. And if anyone needs free credits, we have a coupon for a 1 month free of Windsurf, and I can drop here in the chat. Okay. So Miro asked about ChatGPT, Gemini. Tamara asked about the application. So the name of this application is Windsurf, and if you want to have a free first month of Windsurf Pro, you can put this code called VMiner. I just sent here in the chat if you want. Just so everyone here in the call, we also have a Q&A panel. If you want to use, we can sort these questions up and down, but I see that everyone likes just to throw it in the chat. So let's embrace the chaos and follow the vibes, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we are done with answering everything. So we've given the image reference. We wanted to go easy level, like random moves. Implements code tracking between games, and I want the user to go first because it asked me that who should go first. Is it the computer or the user? Oh, I missed not writing anything about the sound effects, but then it would assume that I don't want sound effects. And then I also want winning confetti animation. And then just refer to the image for the same color screen. And if you see that, let's create the new directory and set up the React project, but it has completely forgotten about the project overview or creating a .md file, but maybe it will just add it in the directory first. So we have to see what it is trying to do, and that is why I mean, here it might just go about implementing it because but we have not also sort of repeated that we wanted a md file, but that is why it is important that you have the context behind everything, and just keep everything ready. Just go about repeating what is it that is a non-negotiable for you, that you want a md file, you definitely want it to ask questions, you want it to review your work. So all of that is sort of like rules, and yeah, so just keep mentioning that, and it would just continue doing its own thing while you can just have coffee and a walk and all of that. But I just prefer to sit here to see what it is doing. And also for everyone, I mean, although a lot of people say that now learning how to code is not very relevant because AI does it all, but you need to understand a lot of times it would hallucinate on the same errors, and if you look at the code, you would be able to fix it and understand it better. And it has happened to me recently that I was working with Arbitrum stylus, and it's quite complicated and it's a very new tech, and it just went about doing the same fixes and then breaking it, same fixes again, breaking it for like more than 3-4, and it took me 6 hours of debugging actually. And all I had to do is look at the files to match the dependencies even after providing a context. So you have to be very careful with what you are accepting in the code changes. So be careful about that. And see, while the dependencies are installing, it would create a project overview file to track implementation. So for initial set of prompts, it would probably remember what you want and then completely forget about it. That, oh, you wanted this to update accordingly, and after every changes you wanted, or after every feature implementation you wanted it to go. So just keep repeating that. So now if you see, there's a project overview, there's feature section, and it is all as a to-do list. So as it implements features, it will just keep crossing it out. So the first step was project setup with React and Tailwind CSS. It has done that. Then project structure, component organization. It would create a game board. It would go about pixel art, game logic, score tracking, confetti animation, and responsive design, and all of that. Okay. So now we like keep accepting all of this because we don't know all of these languages. So it's fine. We'll just trust AI. Okay, while it is doing this, there is this very important or very interesting framework which is called the spell framework. And if you ask Google AI, it would give you a lot of context. So if you are assuming AI to be your genie, okay, and just which does some magic, you have to use spell, which is more like subject, a purpose, essentials, then there's layout, and I think I missed yeah, I missed one. Or maybe it was 1L and I just added an extra L. But the subject is more like the genie's persona, which we have already talked about. So you can't just say that, hey, just go about granting my wish. Like, hey, go create a tic-tac-toe app, right? You have to always create a persona. So everything that we talked in the starting of the session, that's exactly what is here. Act as an expert game developer, specializing in lightweight vanilla JavaScript games. For non-tech people, act as a world-renowned brand strategist who has launched a $3 billion brand or whatever context that you have. I don't expect every techie to know all of the frameworks that is existing out there. So you can give as much context as you can or as you want. Purpose, again, the one true wish, you have to be very ruthlessly specific about your objective. One spell, one core, one purpose. So use a very clear action verb: generate, create, debug, refactor, list, create a complete game versus list ideas for a game. And also here, while we are working on this, you will see that a lot of times if you don't tell AI about creating a MD file and you say that, hey, can you list this prompt, it will just give you a text-based generation. Because you did not tell AI that, hey, I wanted a markdown file. So that is the relevance when you say that you have to be specific. What is your purpose? Because it will do its job. You just have to tell it how close or what is your exact expectation to that job, right? And then essentials, the context, the rules that, okay, um, you have to assume that AI doesn't know anything about the world. There has to be background details like pixelated. What is the context, and what are we following any rules here? So then you're saying, hey, I'm building this for a portfolio to show I can code without frameworks, or I am building a portfolio to just send it to the CEOs and say that I am the right person to bring in growth and to absolutely do anything, code, write, growth, do B2B calls, everything. So then it would give you ideas around that. And maybe if you want to put any constraints that you do not want to use a particular tech stack, you do not want it paragraph focused blog, you do not want too many bullet points heavy. So those are the constraints and the rules that you set up. Again, treat it as a human assistant. And then there is a layout section, which we have said that give a blueprint example of the finished product if you can. Be as clear as you can if you have the project structures or whatsoever. Like the final output should be a single HTML code blog or whatsoever. And this works really well if you're trying to debug, that you won't say that, hey, I'm getting errors. No, select the terminal selections, everything that is there, and then just say that, help me fix these errors and also explain why this happened. What is it that I need to take care of and all of that. So just have a lot of conversation that would help you learn, that will help you understand your code better, and that would also help you save a lot of debugging hours. So now it would just go about building things here, and we have to keep accepting code. Okay, once it has had, now you see a lot of generation has happened and it would say continue response. A lot of time what would happen is that if your code file is 800, 900, 1000 lines of code, while it is analyzing the entire code or debugging something, it will have a timeout error. You need to specify it at the start because you are already aware of your code being lengthy. You have to specify that, hey, modularize the code and then go about reviewing it, or take one function at a time and then sort of go about fixing it. Okay, so that there are no timeout errors that are happening. So yeah, did anybody have any questions? I cannot see my meet screen.
Yeah, no questions so far.
Okay, great.
Someone raised their hand, but they lowered.
Okay, so we are here. Let me close this while it builds. So that is a lot. And again, I think you should really read a lot about, how, like, every now and then new models coming in and new features being added. Like Windsurf has a plan mode, which I extremely hate. Like, it just complicates things for me. But then it is said that it it improves Cascade's performance on longer tasks and it helps you plan better. But what would happen is that after every implementation, it would give you, oh, let me just update the plan file, oh, let me add this to the plan file, and it takes a lot of time for me. So I don't like it, and right now it's in beta. But the kind of project that, or the kind of tool that these people have shipped, I really am sure that they would do something amazing with the plan mode thing as well. But yeah, you can set all of that. Now if you would see, it remembers that we wanted it to update to reflect the progress. So instead of doing it one by one, it has implemented everything and now crossed out everything that, hey, I have done this. And it's time that you do a npm start and just go about it. Now let's see if everything worked fine. So there are a lot of warnings, and it would do a npm start.
I have a question from Federico while
Yes.
we ask, while we wait, about any tips on how to keep security in mind when vibe coding. He experienced it to have to tell AI to use a .m file, for example. So, have any tips for that?
Okay, so again, for that, be specific, and that is why you need to have an idea of what it is building. Oh, my local host. For example, everyone who is aware of working with Git, they know that .env files which have our API keys and probably any kind of, API private keys, wallet keys, or whatsoever is not supposed to. Oh, my local host. Oh, I have too many things already on my local host, because let me go about it. Let me relocate it. So if you see, I would create a new terminal, and then it's lagging. Yes. Kill terminal. One second. Yeah, while my Windsurf loads. Yeah, so I was saying that, as everyone knows while working with Git files, that if you have any particular APIs, private keys, or whatsoever, you have to never push a .env file. Okay, it should always be under .gitignore, and that is how it tells GitHub that, hey, you don't have to push these files in your GitHub commit. Similarly, we will have a lot of node modules, and node modules are large in numbers and they occupy a lot of space. So you never really push node modules with it. So you need to be aware about these specifications, or you can specify that, hey, while building this, we will keep security in mind. If there is any sensitive data, or if there is any data that we should not expose to the world, make sure that we don't we create a dot, again, git ignore file, or maybe a separate file for it, and all of that. And sometimes what happens is, if you have put it as a .env, even while reviewing or while you're deploying it, it cannot fetch the information from it. Like, a lot of times, everywhere you're using variables, and then you fetch it using .env dot this particular variable name. So it would always help you create a alternative of it. But no matter what happens, you should be aware about the security practices. Even if you give AI the instruction to keep all of the security in mind and not reveal any data, you cannot trust it. And if you are not aware about what is happening, you will not know that it messed up. A lot of times myself, when I did not specify things, it would just push the .env or push the node modules, and that is where a lot of hacks and all of this would happen. So just keep yourself updated, and that is why I say that read a lot or know what is happening with the code, so that you know what you're doing and not rely on AI. And even if, like, AI keeps everything, you can correct it if it's going wrong about something, right? So that is important. What were we doing here is, okay, so there's a Windsurf browser. Now I'm not sure if you can see it. Oh, it's lagging. Let's wait.
Yeah, remember, people, don't let North Korea win the
Yes,
Web3.
exactly.
Let's just security on a smart contract.
So, okay, let me do a manual npm start. So there are two options here as well. Either you run a development server, or you also can view it Windsurf browser or in the IDE. I prefer always doing it in the local host, because with Windsurf browser, it just happens to confuse me. Or then if you're searching for anything, it would open everything in that browser itself. So it's better to run it in local host and then just go about doing as many refreshes as you want. It's not connecting.
Guess it's still compiling, right?
Oh, sorry. Wow, see? So I will always have so many ports running in random projects running on it. 3001, 3002. So I need to check all of that. Okay, so this should work fine. Why is it?
When you have used pause, right? Can relate.
And it's a unsaid thing that whenever you're doing a live demo, things will break. It is just impossible for it to just run in one go. I don't know why it's a universal rule, but it happens. But okay, in the meantime, where did my presentation go? Yeah. So 5 golden reminders while you're vibe coding: research first, maintain a .md file, build one feature at a time, small code base, better context, test and repeat. Okay. So keep an idea of everything. Maintain as many MD files as you want, errors, features, to-do list. Keep it separate if you want. One feature at a time, always. Research, obviously. Be aware about what you're building as much as you can. Give smaller context, like selections in a terminal or a particular area of code or particular code block that's not working, and just keep testing, then repeat, see if everything's working, because a lot of times windsurf while fixing one thing would break five other things. Okay, and that's only because you have given a messed up context, or it is not understanding what it should do and it's looking at the entire code. So be very careful about that. And okay, so it says, did I switch on the plan mode? Yeah, okay. So if you see, with plan mode, I switched it on by mistake. It would just continue to plan, and then it will have an entire edition of what it did, added notes about user requirements, plan updates, and completed 11 items. Now, then it will get to work. And I'm like, bro, I don't have the patience to review so much. That is why I don't like plan mode. But it will check the JSON file, and it says that I noticed there are issues with Tailwind CSS setup, which is preventing. Again, it will update the plan mode. So, fine.
Like a good Big Four company would make a plan for how they're going to plan the next planning session.
Yes, exactly. It works well when you are working as a or using it in a company basis, but for someone who's just building on weekends, I don't want my entire plan to be updated every 30 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes, and it's repetitive. That is why I like the overview MD file idea better, that you initially create a set of features. If I'm asking you for more features, add it in that document and then let me know that you have updated it. Just create it as a to-do list. So it gives me more clarity. But for bigger projects, production level projects, if people trust AI tools with that, you can go about using plan mode, and it maybe I've not just discovered the beauty of it yet. That is why it's annoying for me, but just come on, work. Oh my God.
Sneha, before
Yes.
we end the time, some people are jumping off. Do you want to leave your Telegram or maybe your Twitter or email, whatever you prefer, for people to reach out to you to know more about Web3 Compass, about vibe
Yes.
coding, more about you?
So, yeah, so Audacious Sneha is my username everywhere, X or Telegram. But I also have this, which was in the slide, that there is this website vibehackers.xyz, which I have vibe coded, and the idea is to build products on live stream. If you guys are interested to build something, there's just like, it's still a work in progress. Wow, now the form won't load. So this is more like a waitlist form. I am working on the website to put it all coming in. There's a Twitter community around it, so if anybody is interested to just live vibe code and build some projects out of it, just go about waitlisting. And I will also share the community link if you guys are active on Twitter, because I am super active. Um, yeah. And this is the, yeah, there's a link in the website as well. But yeah, these two are the relevant links before anybody drops off.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing, Sneha. I already asked you to join the community.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Wow.
Right now, your game is still building, right?
Yes, it is. I think using Tailwind was a bad idea. I could
Yeah.
have just kept it to React. Shit.
It
But it's
happens like,
okay. It just
but it's
built.
good. Everyone come into vibe coding and think that it's a magical realm that you prompt and in 5 minutes have a full application. No, actually, you gotta learn your things, right? Maybe you learn it faster. Instead of 6 months, you learn it 6 hours, but still
Yes,
it's a process, right?
yes, exactly. And if you, oh, I see Nan Skinner is here.
Nani,
Yes.
what want to add your comments to this? You can unmute yourself if you want. It's amazing how we have. Oh, okay. Yeah, raise the hand to agree.
True. Okay,
Amazing.
Violet, yes, Violet goes about doing things. I was learning TypeScript recently and I didn't want to learn it the traditional way. So I vibe coding something called AI TypeScript tutor, and the entire idea is to just have the TypeScript learning path through very project focused things. Okay. And this entire, like, I'm still to add the projects here, but if you look from the project setup to the type definitions, everything, like how it would be in a gamified application, but it's more like resources, and you build an entire command line task manager, and you can just uh, fork this repo and run everything, and then everything just works amazing. So it's more like a CLI tool, all built in TypeScript, and you can check everything. So I feel like right now, AI, if used wisely, could save you a lot of time in, learning better, understanding better, and all of that, instead of just going about like randomly prompting that you were saying. Like, now I know that Tailwind CSS is used for good styling, but then I was not aware that it would have complicated configurations, right? It was a random thing that I just wrote. All of these times we would just go about normal React, CSS, and all of that, and just go about. But now it is having errors. So that is why, again, research well, have an idea of what you are building, and have a lot of patience. AI has given me a lot of patience to just go about building things and not give up.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
We gotta do a second one, Sneha, for you to come back and show this tic-tac-toe parts.
Yeah,
Would be super cool. Maybe do
bad.
it earlier for you, right? By 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. on time.
Yep. Yeah, that would work.
That would work
Maybe
well.
I would live stream this as my first live stream session on the vibe coding community thing, and people would know that I
Cool.
was able to build it.
That
But
would be cool. A revenge style kind of live stream.
yeah, but
Wonderful. Wonderful.
yeah, thank you everyone for joining. That was all from my end, and I hope it was useful, and just continue building cool stuff.
Learned
That's
a
it.
lot. Anyone has questions at the end here? I saw that we don't have any Q&As here and all, but people are following Tamra learning first lessons of coding. I see that. Sergo, thank you to Sneha, your GitHub
Yes.
too. Wait, is asking. Miro, you want to ask something?
Yes, I have a quick question here. Do
Uh,
you have a strategy to refine your prompt? Like before putting the prompt, you put it in ChatGPT or Google Gemini first, so you have refined code before prompt before plugging it to Windsurf or whatever you're working on.
Oh, yes. So I think I mentioned this in the session. Like right now, it was a random prompt, but generally, I use Google AI Studio. I will go list down all of the features that I have in mind, and then I would ask it to prompt it. If I feel that the entire prompt that it has generated relates with what I want, or maybe is missing something, I would give it more context. And just like how I asked Winsoft to ask all the relevant questions that it needs to get a better understanding of the project and all of that, always do that with your prompt. With Google AI Studio, you can also ask it to rate your prompt, so it gives you a very good feedback that, hey, this prompt is fantastic, but I feel like there are areas of improvement, and use these, you could have done this better. So I think that has worked really well for me. Even Claude gives you good responses, but these days I'm just hooked with Google AI Studio and Windsurf. So you should ask AI the right questions about how to prompt the right things to AI. That's all that I've been using. Yeah.
And the follow-up question, how do you segment? So after, it times out after, like if you give it like one big prompt at one time and then get stuck, like how do you segment the prompt, or how to tell Windsurf to segment the job or the work so it doesn't get stuck?
Okay. So again, I think while writing the previous prompt here, people would have noticed that I always say that maybe like create the MD file and everything, but there is a specific command that implement one feature at a time. Okay, or maybe if I'm working with larger code bases, I would say that modularize the code, pick up one feature, one function block at a time. So while you give the first prompt, it is important to set the context and the rules. And then if you see that it's been long and it has been having timeout errors, or maybe you've generated a lot of work, just copy the initial prompt, or just ask it that, hey, do you remember the first set of instructions that I gave you? And I would want you to refer it and then follow the same steps, like follow the same steps as in, or follow the rules as in, again, deal with things feature by feature, remember the context and all of that. That would help you a lot. But again, the best thing that has worked with me is having all of these knowledge bases and MD files. The moment I see that AI is hallucinating, all I need to write is that refer to the project knowledge MD file, refer to all the relevant markdown files that you've created around the project development, features and everything, and then review your work file by file. If it is a larger code base, review it block by block, and then see what is the next steps for implementation here. So that is more like having an idea or keeping things in line.
Awesome. Last thing, sorry if I'm asking too much. Do you use any rules in the settings for your Windsurf?
No, I think I've recently come across the rules thing as well. I was going through their website, but as of now, I have not really used anything on, the rules side. But I am going to explore it in the coming days, probably. Then I'll be able to comment more on it.
Nice. I've
Awesome.
heard that there is a wave 11 coming for windsurf. Keep yourself
Yeah.
posted. Subscribe to the socials. You might hear from windsurf very soon. Wonderful people. It was great having you here, Sneha. People love it. We're going to have this recording by tomorrow, I guess, in the Google Drive. If you haven't subscribed already, put yourself as a builder, pick a package there in the Eventual Mind Academy Luma page, and let's build together. Let's vibe together, right?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.